Welcome out to the show, guys. This is Studio 321. This is your podcast host, Eddie B, coming at you from the 321. So what's the story with the drones that the U.S. military has been flying over Mexico? I'm going to get into that with you 1 second. I'm going to give you some opinion. I got some cool information on that. But anyways, please like and subscribe to my channel, guys. This is my YouTube site. I'm also on Rumble now. So if you're over there, check me out as well. I'm going to have a bunch of cool videos on both and some different stuff on both. So subscribe to both and check me out. But anyways, let's get into it. So the drones flying over Mexico. There was some articles out last week talking about CIA drones. So we're just going to call that military because, it's basically you're talking about the same thing. So the U.S. is flying some drones over Mexico. So what would that be and why would they be doing that? I personally believe that they're mapping out what's going on down there in detail for some possible future problem solving, if you want to call it that. But anyways, so obviously there's some tension building between the cartels and the U.S. government. Trump he's pretty much an open critic of the fentanyl thing. He says basically we're losing 200,000 Americans a year, which I didn't know the number was that high, but I mean that's insane. 200,000 Americans dying every year of fentanyl overdoses. Okay, and so if you actually put that into context, think about it. In World War II, we lost 450,000 Americans, and that was over a 5-year period. So you're talking about 200,000 a year over 5 years. That would be 1 million people dead from fentanyl. Okay. And I just don't, Trump's done with it. I don't think he's going to put up with it anymore. And I think he's serious. He keeps talking about it, and you know how he is. He gets something in his mind, he's going for it. So there's going to, you got the rising tensions down there. The cartels are kind of getting shut down on the border trafficking now from all the human trafficking. The fentanyl operations, I'm sure, are still, doing whatever they're doing, but like I said, I believe that Trump's looking to shut some of that stuff down now. But anyway, so how does he stop the cartels? Okay. The cartels have been in Mexico forever. They're really part of the country down there. They kind of have like a symbiotic relationship with the government. I don't think you could actually get rid of the cartels in the sense. Now, you could probably go down there and wipe out a bunch of them and do a bunch of damage to them. But the truth is, if you wipe something out and then it just replaces with another group, shortly after that, then you really haven't done anything. Then you end up, actually, a lot of times you might end up with worse than what you were originally fighting in the beginning. So what do they do about it? Well, I believe that Trump, in the way he always does things, he likes to get that fear right out in the front. I think he's going to go down there and do a little bit of damage. I think he's going to pick a cartel. I think he's going to go down there. He's going to hit him pretty hard. Then I think he's going to back off a little bit, have the CIA go in and do their talking and basically tell these people, look, it's a new administration. We're not going to deal with the human trafficking anymore. We're not going to deal with the fentanyl coming over our border. It's killing too many Americans. The public's not happy about it, and it's going to stop. And if it doesn't stop, then we're going to come down here again and wipe out everybody. And so, I've been thinking about this for a while. So I talked to some people, some friends of mine who were, were involved in ex-special forces type operations and stuff like that. And I posed a question like this. I said, if the U.S. military decides that they're going to go in there and take action against the cartels, will they be able to stop them? And he just kind of laughed and said, "Look, you don't understand how it actually works down there." And I said, "Well, okay, well then how's it work?" He said basically that our CIA has dealt with all these folks before. They know who they are. They know where they're from. They know where they live. They know how their operations work. The U.S. government kind of tolerates cartels down in Mexico. again, we know who they are. We know everything about them, but we don't bother them because they're down in Mexico for the most part. But now things are getting to a point with the drugs and the fentanyl that we're going to start bothering them. So he basically said, if we wanted to, we could easily go down and wipe out them all with really little effort, and probably not even a lot of boots on the ground. We've got drones, we've got so much stuff nowadays. We could bomb them into oblivion where they couldn't even leave their houses. They'd be living in tunnels underground. So I said, well, why don't we just do that? I mean, why does our government why do they tolerate it? He said, well, because think about this. You go down there, and it goes back to what I was saying a few minutes ago. You go down there, let's say you wipe out XYZ cartel, right? They're gone completely. Well, he says you leave there, and he says within a year, there'll be another cartel and a new one in that exact same spot they were, that might be, they're new, and they might be way worse, more brutal, nastier, the way they do business. And so basically you're trading one for people who are even worse. So he said a lot of times it comes down to you really want to just regulate them rather than try to replace them, because you never know what you're going to get within a replacement. And you can regulate them with fear and making deals with them to basically whatever, problems you're having with them for them to knock it out. And, I thought about that. That does make a lot of sense, because they always say, there's that old saying, the enemy that you know is better than the enemy that you don't know. And that is true, So let's go into the Mexican government a little bit. So why does the Mexican government put up with the cartels, right? Well, they've always had that symbiotic relationship with them. And, the cartels in a lot of areas of Mexico, usually like the more rural areas, they control most of that territory. I think I read a statistic said it was like they control like 30% of Mexico. And again, most of it's in the rural areas. So, but they're intertwined with the towns. They operate in a certain way. They're kind of amongst the people. So you can't just get rid of these groups. It just doesn't work that way. They're intertwined with the community. And when I was reading about that, I kind of thought about, I had read an article a long time ago about how Pablo Escobar survived so long in Colombia, and it was because he was the same way. His operation was amongst the people. He built schools and town. He basically built towns, and he built soccer fields and did all this stuff in these super poor towns, and he employed everybody in these towns. So, if you were, let's say you were law enforcement, or you were, the CIA or whoever, you're going down there trying to get information on these people, and there's nobody going to give you information because they all work for them. And these are poor folks. They depend on that to survive. So they're not going to tell on them. And on the other side of that is the danger factor. You tell on those people down there, you're going to get killed. So, it becomes a situation where they're really intertwined with the people and the culture down there. And it's also the same, the Mexican government, I guess at a certain point they could take on these cartels if they really wanted to, but it would be a war. I mean, those politicians wouldn't be safe, and they know it. Now, I don't think that, I'm pretty sure the cartels there's never assassinated a Mexican president before, but there have been some officials who have been killed in the past, some mayors and police chiefs and stuff like that around the country. But the overall consensus is you don't mess with those people down there. And so the government, they're in a situation too, and also, there's cartel people within the government, and there's spies everywhere, and it's kind of like one of those situations where you don't know who the good guys are, you don't know who the bad guys are. So they're always in a touchy situation as well. And not to mention the fact that I was reading a estimate, and it said that the cartels supply between 2 and 5% of the GDP for that whole country. Now, if the estimate is between 2 and 5%, I'm going to say it's between 5 and 10%. So think about it. 5 to 10% of your entire economy is based on intake from the cartels. So the government again is in a situation where, do they make a move against that? And I don't think that they do. I don't think so. They're, like I said, first of all, it's dangerous to do that. I don't know if the Mexican government has the power to completely take them out. And if they did, what do they gain out of it? So what I think is going to ultimately happen in that situation is, again, Trump wants the fentanyl stopped. He doesn't want it coming over the border anymore. And if you don't know how that goes, well, not all, but most of the ingredients for the fentanyl come from China, right? It's actually the small border countries around China, Laos, and all those areas. A lot they manufacture the chemicals for fentanyl. They ship them down to Mexico. The labs in Mexico put it together, and then they ship it over the border in the U.S. And they're making billions of dollars, and they're poisoning our people, which is like a twofold for them because, that's just the way you come after the United States. You attack our culture. And if everybody's a bunch of sick drug addicts, well, then, it's you don't have a productive culture. So the drugs are assembled basically in Mexico and then shipped across the border. And like I said, Trump said he's done with it. And I believe him because that part reminds me kind of like, remember when Trump got elected in 2016, he said if he got elected, he was going to take out ISIS, and everybody was like, oh, we've been fighting ISIS for years and years and years. And then if you remember, Trump in about 45 days smashed them. He was dropping Moabs on them, which are, that's the mother of all bomb, if you don't know what that means. He was dropping all kinds of crazy stuff on them over there, and he just bombed them into oblivion and didn't care at all, So I think that's kind of like he's serious about this, and but I don't think he's trying to eliminate the cartels. I just think he's trying to get them back to manageable and get a reset with them so that they understand that it's just not going to be a free market into the United States. But I'll tell you the truth. If I was a cartel leader or involved in that type of stuff down there, I honestly, I think I'd take the next 3 years off, man. I would keep my head down. I wouldn't go pissing off the U.S. government. I would be very careful because I think it's just, Trump's basically looking for that excuse. Like, I think if they were to knock off any American tourists, don't mess with the Border Patrol agents. They better be careful about that because you get one major incident like that, and that's going to be all the excuse that they're going to need, to get the American people behind them, and Trump will go down there and just tear stuff up. And this is the thing. He designated cartels as terrorist organizations now. And I was looking into that, and I believe they did that so that we can use the military, because the military is not normally used for police style action. You can't actually, it's against the law to use our military in the United States for police style action. But it is not illegal to use the military against terrorist action in the United States or abroad. And I don't know if the Mexican government would agree to have us going down there doing stuff, but you know how that goes. I mean, we've done all kinds of stuff. We've done snatch and grabs in the middle of the night in Pakistan and across the borders of all these hostile countries where we're not supposed to be, and we just shoot in there, grab the people we want, or kill the people that we want killed, and then we're back across the border and before anybody knows it. So to say that they couldn't do that, that'd be ridiculous. Now, I know that they just arrested a bunch of cartel members. I know they just extradited to the United States the guy who they said was responsible for the murder of Kiki Camarena, who was that DEA agent who was killed in 1985. But I think that I honestly think that that's all kind of low-hanging fruit, and I think that they did that. I think the Mexicans kind of helped and assisted with that, and kind of like saying, hey, you know, we don't want any problems here. Take these guys, and you know, we don't want any problems. I think that's why all that's happening now. But I also think it's basically a shot across the bow that Trump is firing, saying, hey, I'm here now. Things better change. The border better tighten up, or we're coming to get you. And we'll see what happens, man. I think over the next 6 months, I think you're going to see significant things happen. But anyways, guys, if you like my video, please like and subscribe, and you know, hit that notifications button. It really helps my channel. And also remember, I'm on Rumble now, so check that out as well. But anyways, guys, have a good night, and this is Eddie from Studio 321. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night. Bye.